This is the San Diego School Board voting for Ethnic Studies, a program in cultural Marxism. It's not enough that the teaching of subversive anti-American cultural Marxism is already rampant in our colleges and universities. Now they want to indoctrinate even very young children, starting in kindergarten, in racial and ethnic identity politics and make it a requirement for high school graduation. Note the many socialist red shirts the speakers are wearing. The audience was stacked in favor of approval. There were no speakers against it. Approval by the board was unanimous. The board members were so thrilled that they almost high-fived after the vote. Board President Marne Foster was forced to resign about 6 months later. She was investigated for corruption and abuse of power and pled guilty in a plea bargain with the district attorney.
Our next item is the resolution in the matter of support for ethnic studies for all San Diego Unified students, and that is co-sponsored and brought forth by Trustee Barrera and myself. And I'm really pleased that we've been working with stakeholder groups to re-engage and bring up this conversation about ethnic studies. If you recall, a couple of meetings ago, we brought forth a resolution on ethnic studies that calls for the co-creation of this piece with internal and external stakeholders that would work collaboratively to talk about and develop this conversation about the culturally relevant instructional piece, which is being able to celebrate our rich cultural heritage and our interwoven melting pot that we have. Not only in the state of California, but definitely in San Diego Unified, when we know that 76% of our student population represents different cultures and 45 languages. So that necessitates that we really take a deep dive into ethnic studies, and it's not just about high school, it's about TK, K through 12 that we need to integrate this piece. So this is really significant, some really significant work of this district. So Trustee Barrera, did you want to add some words and just kind of introducing how we've worked collaboratively?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, President Foster. And just very briefly, so the focus of our board action in March to develop an ethnic studies strategy, we talked about, first of all, our support for the state bill, AB 101. Right. But then we also identified that we wanted to create, as President Foster said, an advisory, a subcommittee of our Unified Through Diversity committee to move the process forward. So we thought that it was important today to come forward and say a couple of additional things regarding our commitment to an ethnic studies program for all students in the district. So one is that we want to pursue our own strategy regardless of what happens with the state bill. So we certainly continue to support the state bill, but no matter how the state bill is amended and no matter where it ends, we need to develop our own strategy here in San Diego Unified, and we wanted to clarify that. We also want to make sure that we define, as President Foster said, that our committee is made up of certainly internal folks from the district, but that we get the voices of our community coming in, our students, parents, educators, community leaders, so that they're participating in putting this strategy together. We want to identify that the work of the committee is not something that the committee comes together, works on something for 2 years, and then comes back to us with a set of recommendations for us to consider then, but that we're asking the committee to identify ongoing opportunities to move our strategy forward, and as we identify opportunities to bring recommendations in an ongoing way to the superintendent, to the board, so that we can implement as we move along, so that the work that we're asking members of the committee to take on is work that will be ongoing and iterative. And finally, we just wanted to stress that this work has to begin now. We really need to be moving, and there's strategies that we can identify for the 14-15 year. I'm sorry, for the 15-16 year, but we need to start moving that forward now. So that was the intention of adding some clarification to our resolution in March.
Yeah. So what I'd like to do is, we have a number of speakers on ethnic studies, and I just know that one of those speakers is probably going to read or share the very thorough definition that was discussed and embraced at our ethnic studies meeting yesterday. I think it was yesterday. The days are coming to, was it just yesterday? So I'm just putting that out there. So we have a number of speakers, and it's many speakers, and so it necessitates that it has to be a minute each. But we have Mary Lou Finley, Joanne Fields, Kiki Ochoa, and David Martinez, Gloria Verdio, Sarah Morales, Marco Amaro, Isidro Ortiz, Layala Torres, Priscilla Diaz, Alberto Ochoa, Andrea Castro, Kyle Quiche, Al Bors Gandiari, and Lindsay Birmingham. And in any order you choose, please state your name, and it's a minute.
Lindsay Birmingham, President, San Diego Education Association. Back in October of 2014, the California Teachers Association voted in support of the efforts of all California school districts and local associations in making ethnic studies a graduation requirement so that all students have an opportunity to learn about our cultural diversity and history. In May of 2015, the San Diego Education Association Representative Council voted to support the ethnic studies resolution before you. There were some concerns raised by our body in regards to the adding of yet another requirement on students already full load, and if providing ethnic studies options or ensuring that ethnic studies are embedded into the core curriculum would be viable. In the end, the vote of support passed our body overwhelmingly, and we are committed to working collaboratively with the district and the Ethnic Studies Now Coalition to make this a reality for our students. We have many educators, SDEA members, excited about teaching these courses and helping to grow the courses in San Diego Unified.
Thank you.
My name is Gloria Verdu. I'm speaking as a concerned mother. I support an ethnic studies curriculum that highlights the contributions of Africans and indigenous people in the United States in the San Diego Unified School District. I support ethnic studies from pre-K to 12th grade as a graduation requirement. I also support an ethnic studies oversight committee to make recommendations to the superintendent in establishing an ethnic studies curriculum. I understand that establishing ethnic studies curricula that will have a positive impact on all students is a difficult task that should not be taken lightly. Here's a quote from the National Education Association Values of Ethnic Studies. Ethnic studies include units of study, courses, or programs that are centered on the knowledge and perspectives of an ethnic or racial group, reflecting narratives and points of views rooted in that group's lived experiences and intellectual scholarship. Textbooks that marginalize the scholarship of Africans and indigenous people in the U.S. will have to be changed. Black students and indigenous students have demanded that education is meaningful and affirms their identities. I applaud these students, and I will support their demand until a democratic educational curriculum is the norm for all students and all schools in the United States.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kyle Keach. I'm here to speak as the white student. I'm here, token white boy, who heard of that? I'm here to speak on behalf of those of us who want the ethnic studies and do not necessarily identify with the groups that would be represented in the studies class. I come from a heavily Latino-oriented neighborhood, and growing up I knew that I never knew that anything was wrong, and when I got to high school I began to understand what was wrong as soon as I joined what was the Gay Straight Alliance, which evolved into the Social Justice Club because it was not meeting the needs of critical analysis of the racial and everything issues that were involved in the community. And even as an international baccalaureate student, the most rigorous course, I was not able to receive the information that's required, which is a big reason why I believe that all students should be required to take ethnic studies, because without courses such as that, I would be going throughout the world not knowing, every single form of oppression that existed. I wouldn't be able to identify the needs of people besides myself.
Thank you.
Kiki Ochoa, teacher in Lincoln High School, member of ADE and the Ethnic Studies Now Coalition. I want to say thank you to all the board members for your vision, for supporting this kind of work, for making sure that the beautiful brown and black faces, that walk into Lincoln High at the 9th grade level, are given a curriculum or given an education that's going to keep them there in 12th grade, because it's unfortunate that a lot of the beautiful faces that I see when they walk on campus in 9th grade aren't there, this year, and aren't going to be there on Monday. And we truly believe that ethnic studies and a culturally relevant curriculum is going to get them to stay in school and be educated and go on to higher education and make this entire world a better place. I know that you asked for me to read, or us to read. Is that okay if
Try to get it in.
Yeah. Ethnic studies is an interdisciplinary enterprise that starts from the assumption that race and racism have been and continue to be profoundly powerful social and cultural forces in the American society and modernity at large. The scholarship and teaching focuses both on specific experiences of African Americans, Asian Americans, Chicanos, Latinos, Native Americans, and other racialized people in the United States. The thematic components of ethnic studies include explicit identification of the point of view from which knowledge emanates and the relationship between social locations and perspective, examination of U.S. colonialism historically as well as how it relates to colonialism and how it plays out, examination of the historical construction of race, institutional racism, and how people navigate racism and the struggle for liberation. Point 4, probing meanings of collective and communal identities that people hold. And lastly, 5, studying one's community's creative and intellectual products, both historic and contemporary. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Albors. I'm a PhD student in Ethnic Studies Department at UC San Diego. I want to talk about how ethnic studies actually began as a movement, a social justice movement many decades ago, where working class people of color, communities of color fought to have their narratives heard and taught and told, fought to have their narratives about social justice struggles against institutional racism, patriarchy, economic injustice, colonialism, told and heard. And I think that's really important for our youth in these communities of all backgrounds to know this history, know the contemporary issues of institutional racism that are still ongoing, in order to really be able to do the same type of work that people before them have done, which is to organize collectively and bring about change in our society. So I think it's really important that this actually be a requirement for all students. All students from all backgrounds will be empowered by this. This is about youth empowerment and continuing important social justice movements and struggles in the face of various forms of oppression. So thank you, and please pass this.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Morales, and I'm here today as an educator and a forever student of ethnic studies. When I was younger, I never thought I would be here standing before anyone fighting for education, but ethnic studies taught me to fight for things that I feel passionately about. School never felt relevant to me because I could never see myself in any of the material. It wasn't until my first college class in ethnic studies where I had the opportunity to learn about the struggles and the heroes and sheroes of my community, and where I felt that my story and my lived experiences actually do matter. Ethnic studies empowered me in my education all the way up into to receive my master's degree in ethnic studies about 2 years ago, and hopefully a teaching credential. I have read many schools' mission statements and all say something along the lines of inclusion and diversity. But what does that actually look like in action? We can welcome all students, but they need to be allowed the opportunity to learn about their stories and the space to say their lived experiences safely. We can say inclusion, diversity, Black and Brown Lives Matter all we want, but those are just words until we put them into action. Ethnic studies for all SD, USD students needs to happen now.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Layla Torres and I'm currently about to end my junior year at Point Loma High School. As a high school student almost ready to move on to a higher level of education, I have not been satisfied with the one I am given now. The history currently being taught in school, including our books, is not the history that represents me. Not being able to identify myself with the history books has motivated me to seek a better and greater resource to learn about where I come from. This is what wakes me up early in the morning every other Saturday to attend the Escuelita Slan. It's programs like these that helped me reclaim my identity. Although next year is my last year in high school, I hope that one day my little sister and my little cousins will have the opportunity to take ethnic studies before entering college. It's a shame that ethnic studies is considered a privilege and not a right. It's a shame that the majority of our youth have no idea of who they are and where they come from. And finally, it's a shame that till this very day, we are still fighting for our stories to be told. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Priscila Diaz. I am currently finishing up my undergrad in journalism and Chicano studies at Cal State Northridge. I'm also a product of this district, which has failed me and many ethnic students in its representation of us in the history classrooms. I attended 2 elementary schools in the barrio in which I was a part of the ESL program. I never felt like an outsider because my teacher spoke to me about the beauty my culture was and taught me the songs I heard in the womb. I never doubted the importance my people had in the development of this nation until I entered middle school north of the 8. I attended Current Middle in Point Loma High. It was here where I realized that I was different and not everyone embraced my culture the way I did. I was ridiculed for wearing my traditional huipil during our festivities. Criticism not only came from my peers, but even the faculty members left. The only representation of my people I ever saw was a politically inaccurate Cinco de Mayo nacho special for lunch. When I entered high school, I took every opportunity I had to educate my peers about the history nobody told us about. I would get into arguments with my teachers because they would scream at me, "Remember the Adam?" When I screamed back, "I do remember it, just not the way you do." I did everything in my power to educate the ones who wouldn't take the time to educate themselves, because if I didn't, who would? I'm here to urge you not to leave ethnic studies as an option, but instead make it a requirement, because our stories need to be told just as much as the stories of a patriotic America. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is David. I'm a member of Ethnic Studies now. Gerald, Richard, Marnie, Cindy, John, Michael. As a concerned parent, looking back, wishing that I would have finished school. If ethnic studies were available then, I think I would have finished. I think I would have dropped out of the 11th grade, and I would have been a more positive member of the community. And I'm thankful that my daughter graduated from UC Berkeley, my son from Harvard. I wish I would have had that chance. I was a single parent family member, only with a mother, worked 80 hours, never got paid extra, and I'm here to support that, and I'm here for the voice of all those parents that can't speak, that will never be heard, that might never graduate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, my name is Andrea. Good evening. I'm a junior, going to be a senior this coming fall. And when I was going to be a freshman in high school, I was incoming. I heard about the social justice course that my sisters had informed me about, but sadly when I actually came to Lincoln, I was put into this Globe Ed course, and now freshmen don't even have a history class currently, and I think courses like social justice extolled like cultural enrichment and help kids consider things from multiple perspectives, which happens to fall into the Common Core standards. And these classes help make a smooth transition for freshmen, because rather than taking a huge break for like a whole year not learning anything in history, they're still learning stuff and they can think of things from different perspectives, and it'll help other classes. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mary Lou Finley. I'm a special ed assistant at Bell Middle School. I'm 70 years old, and I chose to go towards the last because mine's kind of personal. First of all, I want to bring up something that other people have talked about, and I haven't heard it yet tonight. The fact is that they've done research and they have data proving that ethnic studies improves the students' achievement for all students, which is why we have to make it a graduation requirement for all students. The only other thing I want to say is, as a 70-year-old, I remember 60 years ago when I was in high school, and I had textbooks that said that the slaves were happy because they sang while they worked. I've worked at Crawford High School, and I now work at Bell, and I can tell you that the world history books that I have seen are better, but not enough. Not nearly enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. First of all, I'm Isidro D. Ortiz, professor of Chicano and Chicana Studies at San Diego State. First of all, President Foster, I want to thank you for correctly pronouncing my name. In a district that aspires to cultural proficiency, that's very important. But I'm also here to thank you for your leadership in supporting Assemblyman Alejo's bill and for taking the initiative in the spirit of collaboration, vision, urgency, and a commitment to student success in working out a strategy to make ethnic studies a reality in the district. I want to inform you that the Ethnic Studies Consortium, a coalition of faculty, staff, and students in higher education in the county, supports the Ethnic Studies Now campaign and its commitment to promoting academic success for all students. Thirdly, I want to assure you that the Ethnic Studies Consortium experts, like myself, stand ready to assist you, the district, as it moves to provide students with this unprecedented opportunity. We can help you in any way possible, resources, expertise. We are at your call. I also want to underscore that the Ethnic Studies campaign is placing great trust in your leadership. I've been presenting before school boards for over 45 years, and I keep being asked, can we trust this school board? And I say, well, if we look at what they did on A through G, gun ranges and so on, I think we can say yes. And so I'm hopeful that, in fact, what I'm saying will prove to be true. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello again. Again, my name is Joanne Fields, and actually I find it unfortunate we had to come to this place because we are a part of American history. We should already be teaching the history as a whole. Filipinos and Latinos worked together to start the farm workers movement. Larry Itliong, Philip Veracruz, Cecil Chavez, Dolores Huerta. But you don't hear all those names when we learn about the farm worker movement, if they speak about it at all in our schools. In government class, we should already be talking about the Voter Rights Act, and this is the 50th anniversary, and our civil rights leader is more than just a day off for MLK holiday or Cesar Chavez Day. We need to have it already in the curriculum. So I do appreciate that this resolution has come forward, not only in the state, but here locally for San Diego Unified, so that our history can be told in ethnic studies. But I also want to include, we do have Filipino language class that serves more than just a language class, but I do want to make sure that you include the discussion of white privilege, because you do not know who your oppressors are if you don't talk about white privilege, and that needs to be in the curriculum as a mandate, a requirement, and not just an option. Thank you.
I'm Alberto Ochoa, co-chair of the Latino Advisory Committee to the Superintendent, and I'm here to applaud you for making ethnic studies priority, and specifically, you are correct to state that ethnic studies begins in pre-K, and we cannot conceive ethnic studies as a high school course or courses. It has to begin through a dialogue of critical consciousness at the kindergarten level. I also want to just reiterate that your cultural proficiency standards that have been adopted by the board in this past March, that Standard 5 speaks to the development of curriculum that is inclusive of all students in the services that the community serves. Standard 6 speaks to culturally relevant instructional strategies. Standard 10, it speaks to organizational and cultural proficiency and cultural democracy. And also Standard 8 speaks to language diversity, multilingualism, literacy, and languages. And Standard 11 speaks to cross-cultural leadership and central office. And speaking of leadership, I think one of the essential points that has not been made tonight is that the leadership has to be established at the district level to assure that it has equal status. You have a Race and Human Relations office. I don't believe any of those persons are a director. If you don't assign a person who has directorship, leadership authority, you will always be asking for favors. So leadership is important, and I encourage you to re-examine as you reorganize the district if this is really a priority, if cultural proficiency is a priority, if Vision 2020 is a priority, then we need to have someone that would have the leadership and the courage to continue to implement.
Thank you. Okay, so if there are no other speakers, I think we need to, before we vote, close this out in our tradition of reading the resolution. And so, Richard, you can start because you're to my right. I mean, we'll keep on going around.
So why don't we just start with that. Whereas on March 23rd, 2015, the board adopted a resolution in support of AB 101, Ethnic Studies for California High Schools.
And whereas California has one of the largest and most diverse student populations in the nation.
Whereas people from historically unrepresented ethnic backgrounds make up over 76% of the student population in San Diego Unified, with more than 45 languages spoken in district schools, and
whereas given San Diego Unified's annual increase in diversity, it is important that students build knowledge of the various racial and ethnic groups in the nation.
Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Education of the San Diego Unified School District amends the Ethnic Studies Resolution to provide for the following actions.
Be it further resolved, regardless of the outcome of the Alejo Bill AB 101, the work to establish and implement ethnic studies in San Diego Unified School District will continue.
Be it further resolved, the Ethnic Studies Advisory Committee overseeing the implementation of ethnic studies for all San Diego Unified students is comprised of at least 60% K-12 educators, college-level educators, parents, students, and community members.
Be it further resolved, the Ethnic Studies Advisory Committee begin meeting immediately to develop recommendations as to how ethnic studies can be implemented and accessible to all students in San Diego Unified School District throughout their K-12 educational experience.
Just to be true to that, the committee actually met last night.
That's right.
So be it further resolved, the Ethnic Studies Advisory Committee become an ongoing structure that will exist to ensure effective outcomes, teacher training, and successful implementation. Recommendations will be implemented on an ongoing basis as they're approved by the superintendent and the Board of Education.
Okay, so now we're all going to read the last one. Ready? Cool. Begin. Be it further resolved, the Ethnic Studies Advisory Committee will ensure all meetings are open to the public. And that is adopted today after we vote. Any further comments?
Yeah, I'd like.
Would you like to make a comment?
Yes, I'd like.
Trustee
yes.
Evans. Yes.
Yeah. Well, first of all, obviously, I'm very supportive of this ethnic studies measure. I think one of the things that we have seen is, for example, oftentimes, and we've discussed this before about language differences, people who come to our schools speaking other languages, and it's often referred to as a deficit in terms of people have to learn the dominant language as opposed to its strength and in terms of the richness of diversity. I think when we often use the term, we talk about urban school districts, that's also kind of a code word for referring to certain ethnic groups. I liked the comment that one of the students made about this is really, what we're talking about is really implementing the Common Core. The whole point of Common Core is critical thinking and looking at issues from a variety of perspectives. And as one of the students also mentioned, this is something that benefits all of the students of every race, of every background, that we all benefit or enriched by learning more about each other. And particularly in a time when racism and other biases now tend to go more underground. It's not quite as blatant as it was in years past in terms of people openly expressing hostility and prejudice, but the institutional effects of it are still there in a lot of things that are going on. I also think I appreciate the way that Trustees Foster and Barrera have worded this resolution, because rather than a simple feel-good, take one action sort of thing, like, okay, put in a course and throw it together and make it a graduation requirement, the whole issue is to look at what are we trying to accomplish. And what we want to accomplish is to have a real broad perspective of all of our students, again, referring to the critical thinking and the Common Core. And this has to happen from the earliest age all the way through high school. We don't want to wait till 11th grade and take a course and all of a sudden be enlightened on what's going on. When I was in college, I worked at a bilingual preschool that had a pretty diverse population from various groups, and it was amazing to me at that point, the 3- and 4-year-olds who were telling each other which side of the table they were supposed to sit on based on their color and other factors. Obviously, they had learned at a very young age. So we don't want this to be some sort of isolated thing that we put over here in a silo just to talk about it separately, but we want it to be something that is integrated throughout the curriculum from kindergarten, before kindergarten, all through 12th grade. And so I think that is what is thoughtful about this, that this group is not just going to come up with one simple, like I said, feel-good solution, but actually a program that's honestly and carefully looking at it. And the process that this group is going to undertake, I believe, will be the process that an ethnic studies course undertakes, which is to have real critical and creative thinking about what is the best way to go about this. So for that reason, I just wanted to say that I very strongly support this resolution.
And I guess I just want to add that when we go through this process together, as I stated before, internal and external stakeholders on this journey and identifying and looking at what is necessary to make sure that all students achieve and are able to stand with straight backs because they understand their rich cultural heritage, but everyone else does as well. I think that on this journey, we are going to arrive at the fact that it is necessary for all students to graduate with that experience. So this is just the beginning of a process with the result that is going to work for all children. So thank you for being here and speaking and supporting and co-leading this work. And with that, can we vote? All right. Passes unanimously. Thank you.